Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Himeko. Now Himeko is going to be our Pyro DPS for this game, and she does cover a lot of different roles and has some really good teams. So we're going to be talking about all that type of stuff in this video. We're going to be talking about her best traces, her best teams, her best relics, all that type of stuff in this video. But before we get into all that, make sure to leave a sub and a like on the video if you're going to be enjoying some more Honkai Star Rail content. I also cover Genshin and Honkai Impact as well, so if you like any of those games, make sure to sub for that as well. But like I said before, Himeko is our fire DPS, and she can be playing a different set of roles for a lot of different teams. But first, let's go ahead and start talking about her kit. Now Himeko is a very simple character. In all honesty, it's her talent that makes her special, makes her really cool. And of course, I think a lot of you people are kind of familiar with her playstyle because you did get to play with her on the tutorial when you started the game. So we're going to be talking about her stuff, which is going to be pretty quick in all honesty, where most of the video is going to be about the other things, because for the most part you kind of know what these are because you played with them during the tutorial. The basic attack is just a normal hit, as always, nothing special. The skill is going to be a AoE hit, and it's going to hit characters adjacent to your target. So if there's a character on your left and your right of the target, then all three of them are going to get hit. If there's a character only to the left of them, then those two are going to get hit, and there's a character on the right of them, then those two are going to get hit. So depending on how you place your target for this skill, the one that you're targeting is going to take the most of the damage, and the ones that are adjacent are going to take a little bit slightly less damage, or it's a lot less damage actually, when they're right next to the character you're actually fighting. So you want to place this in the right spot, and if you want to basically down an enemy, make sure that you're targeting it and not making it one of the adjacent targets that you're actually going to hit. And then her ultimate is very simple, but it has a really nice passive to it. It's just going to be an AoE blast. It's going to hit all enemies on the wave, and if for every enemy defeated, you're going to get 5 extra energy. So if you're going to be doing auto and stuff with Himeko, you're probably not going to benefit from this passive when you're doing it manual. Then you can try to have enemies get lower health before their turn starts, or before you're about to down all of them. Make sure to use Himeko's ult. You'll be able to get all her energy back and help her burst a lot more, or get her ultimate out a lot more. So you want to make sure that you're doing that so that you're able to take advantage of this passive. Now the main thing, as of course that everyone's already knows about because they played with her in the tutorial, is the follow-up attack. Now this follow-up attack happens when you break 3 shields, because the stacks of them have to hit the 3, and then a follow-up attack happens. You start with 1 when the game starts, or when the match starts, and then for every other one afterwards is going to be a shield break, is going to equal up to 3. Then you do your follow attack. When it resets after you do your first one, then you are going to have to start at 0, and then you'll have to get a full 3 to actually get that follow-up attack. Now for the thing that is a little bit of a tip when you want to use this follow-up attack and actually get the most damage out of it, of course you want to stop to do it before your enemies attack, because you do want to get as much damage, you want to down as many enemies. But if you're able to put yourself in a situation where you're able to get all these enemies a little bit lower, break their shields each one by one, and then have their health a little bit lower, Himeko could come in with the follow-up attack, basically beat all of them up, and then you have the next wave fresh and have all your characters without having to waste any skill points extra on top of what the follow attack is already up doing. Another good thing to do is that if you're fighting little trash mobs and they all have fire shields for the next wave, then you can use Himeko. She could possibly break all of the shields once you are using her follow-up attack, and then she can actually do another one right afterwards. So there's some really cool things you can do with Himeko if you chain certain shields to come up afterwards in regards to what waves are coming out. Now her technique is going to help a little bit with her getting a buff, which is going to be debuffing the enemy, having them take more fire damage taken, and it's something really nice to have if you're having Himeko as the main DPS. Now in regards to light cones, of course Himeko's light cone is going to be her best for the most part, because it's going to give a static buff depending on how many enemies are on the field, and then whenever you break shields with it, which is basically her gimmick, is going to be a damage dealt by 30% buff for 1 turn. So yeah, you're going to be doing a lot more damage. When you get that follow-up attack, it's going to do a fat ton, just because it's going to have this static buff and also this weakness break buff as well when you're done breaking those shields. Now Herda's, which is the follow-up attack light cone, where you're going to get 24% statically on your follow-up attacks, and then another 24% if they are under 50% for the enemies of the health. It is a really good one. The only problem is it doesn't buff anything else but the follow-up attack, and I know this is Himeko's gimmick. Now certain teams where she's going to be doing only the follow-up attack, where that's going to be her main thing, this is a really good light cone to have. But if you're going to be using her as a DPS, I kind of don't suggest this one, just because it only buffs up the actual follow-up attacks and not her skill and not her ult, which are another point of her big sources of damage. The Seriousness of Breakfast, I know this is a free-to-play card. I forgot where exactly you get it from, but I know this is free-to-play. Increases the wearer's damage by 12%, and for every enemy defeated, the wearer's attack increases by 4%, and then stacking up to 3 times. So basically you get around a 24% buff if you defeat enemies with Himeko, which of course if she is your main DPS, you're going to get this very easily, and it doesn't have a round limit, which is really good. The Genius's Repose is okay in a way. If they don't have ads or it's a boss fight, you're probably not going to get the second part of this passive where it gives you the extra crit damage, but you also get a static attack buff by 16%. So these are some good light cones that you could possibly get. I do think the Seriousness of Breakfast, the free-to-play one that I know we get somewhere, is probably one of the best ones that you could possibly put on Himeko because it's so strong. All you need to do is defeat enemies with your main DPS, which is basically going to happen all the time. Now there are 2 3-star light cones that can help in a way. Of course they're not as strong as the 4 or 5-star light cones, but these can actually do pretty well with Himeko's passive that we were talking about earlier. Sagacity, I think that's how you say it. When the wearer uses their ultimate, increase attack by 24%, and since it's a 3-star, you should be able to get that percentage up by a lot more just because you're going to be able to superimpose it by 5. Himeko using her ultimate, she gets stuff back if she defeats enemies with it. So being able to constantly get, enemies down with your ultimate is going to let you have your ultimate a lot more. And then you're going to be able to get this attack buff for, infinite amount of times if it's going to be, for 2 turns. So you should be able to have this up at 100% uptime possibly by the time Himeko comes back. So this is not a bad 3-star option for Himeko. Another one that you could use is the Data Bank, which is going to basically just do an overall buff to Himeko's ultimate damage, which is not bad in all honesty. But if you want to go for overall more damage on her overall kit, then you want to go with Sagacity, and if you want to go for more damage on her ult, then it would be Data Bank. I don't think Passkey is pretty good in all honesty. When they get their skill, they get energy for their ult, which she's already going to get energy from, using her own skill and having to do the follow-up attacks and stuff like that and getting the damage from that. So you kind of don't need this. So Sagacity is really good. Data Bank is really good. The follow-up one with Herta, the Birth of Self, is pretty nice. It just deals only with follow-up attacks. That's the conditional one. The Seriousness of Breakfast and the Himeko signature are by far the best ones for Himeko. Now, talking about her actual relics, I do not have her really good ones on. But of course, you want to try to get that fire damage bonus from the Firesmith of the Lava Forging, because you're going to be getting an increase of 10% for the fire damage. And then for the 4-piece, you're going to be getting a skill damage buff for 12%. And whenever you use your ultimate, you're going to get a fire damage buff for your next attack by 12% as well. So yes, this is definitely going to be the best one that you could put on Himeko in terms of the right relics. Now, the planetary ornaments or the planar ornaments, you're going to want the one where it gives you attack based on your speed, just because once you hit the speed, it's just the overall attack buff. Everything else is going to be giving you like max HP, defense, and stuff like that. So yeah, this is going to be the best one. The Space Sealing Station, this is going to be the best planar ornament to actually put on Himeko. Now, in terms of her best teams, now there are certain teams that you can use with Himeko. Like I said before, you have main DPS options for Himeko, and you have sub DPS options for Himeko. The main DPS options for Himeko would of course be Himeko, a buffer, and then the shielder and the healer, or 2 buffers, Himeko, and a shielder or healer. So that's basically the same, basically the main DPS type of team that is like in every situation. Now there are other teams that you can use to help buff Himeko's damage, having a sub DPS with them, and that could be with Himeko, Hook, any type of buffer, any type of shield or a healer, just because Himeko does have a trace where she gets burning damage, and when she does get burning damage and the enemies afflicted with burning damage, she actually gets a damage buff from it. So when you use Hook, you're able to afflict that burn. Asta has the same thing as well. You flick the burn from their skill, and then you're able to get that damage buff for Himeko, and it's going to help her hit a lot more, especially with the buffer on the team, and also keeping your team alive with the healer or shielder. So that's really good stuff that you can use that can help buff Himeko's damage and make the team overall sink a lot more. Now, another thing that you also want to maybe do when it comes to grinding, now this is a little bit more of a funnier team in all honesty when it comes to actually using it, which is the Herta and Himeko combo. Now I think a lot of people have probably already seen this team. I think it's one of the funnier teams. Of course, Himeko and Herta, they both have the follow-up attack mechanic, and Himeko procs it from shield break and Herta procs it from being under 50%. So yeah, you're gonna be doing some damage, and when you do damage with these two, there is a chance that you could chain infinitely with their follow-up attacks, and it's gonna be looking something like this, and it's pretty funny to look look at. Of course, Bronya or any other buffer would help get the damage in so that they can start breaking shields, and then the healer, you know, in case they lose that combo or you have to wait until they start doing that combo, it keeps them alive. But there's some cool stuff you can do with Himeko, but for the most part, this is pretty much it when it comes to how to use Himeko and what to do with Himeko. I hope anybody that got her is happy. I hope anybody that got her is having fun with the game. We're going to be making some more guides in the future with some of the 4 stars a lot of y'all are using, with a lot of the 5 stars that are left over that I think I can make some showcases for. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching the video all the way to the end. See y'all on the next one, and peace.